Happy Easter sa lahat. At the same time, chinek ko rin yung Muslim holiday that will be following. We're also in Ramadan at I think up to now, dahil ako ay na dinner with the Malaysian Embassy counselor at gabi lang pwede siya mag-dinner. Ako naman umiiwas sa dinner pero of course we made it a special occasion and we gave him a briefing on the situation. But Ed Fitir, how do you call it? Eid al-Fitir will be coming on April 10th. So that's a Muslim celebration naman. Calvin Cheng is with us on YouTube. Supra, Osman Zin, Reynaldo Lazaro, Juliet Camaro, M.O.E. Der. That's a new name, I think. Good morning, Mentong and Kado. Antonio Gahelan is with us also. Happy Easter sa lahat. Whether you're of any other religion, it's okay to enjoy the holidays. She Alonto is with us. OJ Hoxon Legere. I hope I'm pronouncing it correct. Who says, Blessed Easter, everyone. Kaado's with us quite early today. Kaado, good morning. Kamusta ang... yeah, go ahead.
Well, the Lord has risen. Hallelujah. So, Catholics.
Okay.
Happy Easter.
Okay, and as we have recently added this Buhay Pilipino, Buhay Pinoy, our first report to you is Darwin Cañete's post. Kasi napakarami pong disinformation, propaganda ngayon. Sabi ni Darwin Cañete, if you repeat a lie often enough, it becomes journalism. At in this connection, I remember the protest ng FOCAP, Foreign Correspondents Association of the Philippines, protesting the allegation of the Chinese government that they're distorting and presenting biased videos. Of course, we know the FOCAP, Foreign Correspondents Association of the Philippines, will be biased for the Western perspective. So, including later on, I think we will show you the Defense Press Corps natin protesting the same thing. Alam naman natin ng Defense Press Corps natin, like the rest of our media, kontrolado ng mga oligarchs po yung mga yan at mga editors nila. And they have no choice, aside from the fact that many of them are not naman thinking journalists. No? They're just reporters. And yung kanilang mga ulat ay binabasa naman ACPH enter the waiting room. Okay, anyway, Joshua will decide that. Okay, ang Buhay Pinoy next is si Presidente Duterte, nag-birthday very recently. Very simple lang kanyang celebration. This was posted. And I also created a post of BBM's mga birthdays na birthday bash. Hindi ko na lang sinama dahil sa dami po ng ibang mga pag-uusapan po natin. Another celebration is not a birthday but just a celebration is Martin Andanar in Beijing enjoying Peking duck po. We highlight this to show that marami tayong mga kasamang Pilipino na naghahanap buhay po sa Beijing and enjoying the freedom to live their lives there, enjoying the fine cuisine there, and defying the propaganda. Sino bang huling nakalaban ni Andanar? Sino ba yan?
Katrina Enrile.
Si Katrina Enrile, alleging that he is a paid role of...
Si Katrina Ponce Pilato.
Okay. Let's move on. Ito, paalala lang po sa mga nagpepenitensya. Wounded Holy Week penitents warned about tetanus risk. This was by Jaime Sornito, March 28. I think this is from Panay News. From Iloilo po itong balitang ito. So be forewarned sa ating mga nagpepenitensya at naglalatigo ng kanilang mga likod. Ito ang statement naman ng Defense Press Corps ng Pilipinas. The Defense Press Corps of the Philippines takes exception to the baseless allegation of Chinese Foreign Ministry which casts aspersions in the integrity of Filipino journalists. Well, we know the level of integrity of journalists like Maria Reza, Patricia Evangelista, so many of them, mga has ba yun? Mga has, yung mga, sino ba yung nagbo-broadcast, or of course, Javid Haidarian. We know the integrity, the level of integrity of these people, and their actions speak for themselves. We'll ask Kado more about that. But Kado has been posting this next one, 88 of Filipinos against Chacha, according to the Pulse Asia. Apparently, Pulse Asia is the only reliable survey group na in the country, so far. Siya rin po ang nagulat nung 6% concern of Filipinos on the territorial defense issue. At 94% ay tungkol sa aalalahanin ng mga Pilipino ay presyo ng pagkain, presyo ng bilihin, trabaho, kriminalidad, korupsyon, and so on. Okay, ito po, ang post naman ni Ana Malindogoy at iba pang mga tao, umiikot na po ito, yung 1 billion per kilometer road ni Tambaloslos sa Leyte. Ang proyekto ay may habang 3 kilometers na nagkahalaga ng tumataginting na mahigit 1 billion pesos kada kilometro. Kayo na ang maghusga o humusga. While corruption on road building has been with the Philippine government since time immemorial, pero mukhang lalong lumalala today. And yun din, survey po ng Pulse Asia. Ito si Kaado ang nag-post. And sabi niya, no explanation necessary. Nandiyan po yung survey mismo. Yung yes, the Constitution should be amended. How many percent? Buong Pilipinas, 8% lang. At yung mga nagsabi na no, it should not be amended now is 88%. Kaya sampal dito sa mukha ni Marcos at ni Tambaloslos na nagtutulak po nitong Chacha. Yun, ito mas malawak na ulat with the different classifications ng mga lugar kung saan galing ang mga resulta ng mga survey dito sa issue na to. Suma total, of course, 88% ayaw ng Chacha. And this next post from Mary Joy Madrazo Rojas expresses what the sentiment and mood of the nation is, and even of the middle class. Not only masa, wala na pong masabi, talagang they're at the end of their wits, but I think this expresses the sentiment, the damdamin of the middle class. Sabi ni Mary Joy Madrazo Rojas dito galing sa Wordables, no amount of budgeting or not eating at restaurants is going to make up for the fact that we do not make enough money anymore. And this is going to be worse in the months to come. Russia and OPEC has agreed to reduce fuel supply, gas supply, diesel supply, crude oil supply, to raise the prices. And this will have a shock effect on the global economy, lalong-lalo sa ating local Philippine economy, which the past few days tumaas ng 2 piso ang ilang mga produktong petrolyo, ay lalo pang tataas at matatapatan siguro yung mga nakaraang highest in the next few months, no? Oil prices. Therefore, electricity prices will also be going up. Production will further go down. And all of this is because of the war the West has initiated against everybody, the war of the US against the rest of the world. And meron po rito sa atin na mga gunggong na Pinoy daw sila. Sabi nila, I am Filipino, the West Philippine Sea is ours. Parang kung hindi ka sang-ayon doon, hindi ka Pilipino. That is the propaganda ploy of Raymond Powell na in operation now. No? But we are against war. Ay, yan ang naisip ko kaninang kailangan i-propagate ulit. Anti-war, anti-bases. Dahil nandiyan parating na naman ang MDT and EDCA anniversaries. So we will be discussing that a little later. Boy Rodica is with us and James Moreno, Brian Jerome Pineda, Freddy Oredina, Maverick Mitchell Bensons is with us. And Bonnie Tellin is with us. Al Galang, happy Easter to everybody here. And let's see, in YouTube, Noel Rivera, Antonio Gahelan, I think I mentioned already, Calvin Cheng. BBM's war stance is a prelude to martial law. Beyond, well, yung prelude to martial law, nakita na natin ang pressure nila sa SMNI, trying to suppress freedom of information and freedom of expression, freedom of reportage. Kasi sometimes we just hear people say, it is suppression of freedom of expression. No, you should also have freedom of reportage to focus on the absolute imperative to have a free press so that the truth may emerge from the season of propaganda and disinformation imposed by the West. Bian is with us. Jimmy Nabor greets us happy Easter to all of us here. Richard Dong of the Filipino journalists and journalism have really integrity. Why they won't send Filipino reporters near Gaza or Gaza itself to see the actual happenings in Gaza? That's correct. June Lamarca, good morning. Kamentong Kaado. Hindi na kailangan ng bomba ng China. Economic sanction lang tapos ng Pilipino at pauuwiin ng mga OFW sa Macau, sa Hong Kong, and kahit po sa Taiwan kasi eventually Taiwan will be reunified with China. Maria Cecilia Malino, happy Easter Sunday, Kamentong ng Kaado and to all. Nelson Heraldes, Noel Rivera, I was watching Dr. Lalu's YouTube channel and apparently PBBM has already signed commercial nuclear power agreement with the US, which, if true, would legitimize US bringing in nuclear materials here. Very good observation. Talagang this was a premeditated pivot to the US. All the business, all the expenditures of the Philippine government will be going to the US business. It is part of the revival of the US economy at the expense of the Filipino people. Pelino Jr., Mr. Polintan, chacha or no chacha, nawawala ba ang corruption ng dynasties? The same politicians will be elected. The same politicians will be elected and so a cycle of corruptions only. Another deal 30 Duterte will only aggravate our economy. June Lamarca, good morning. Happy Easter to everybody here. From Toronto, Canada, Tony Amor, is BBM thinking of becoming a war president, since hence the tension in the South China Sea increasing? Well, we don't know if the US will really provoke China into a war with the US. With the Philippines, they may do and create a localized war like in Ukraine. But the US businessmen are currently at this very hour in China, being wined and dined by President Xi Jinping, all excited about entering the Chinese market, while many gunggungs here in our country, Well, not all of them are gunggong. Some are making a lot of money from the Americans, trying to fool the entire nation. And of course, BBM using all this tension to cover up the dirty schemes he has with the Americans to monopolize all business in this country. We move on. Let's see. Next one is already economics. I will start with one item from the economy or the economic sector because this is very important in connection po, Kaado, with the visit of the U.S. trade delegation na ginanap po nila with the collaboration of the Philippine government na ipropaganda ang mga benepisyo daw ng trading with the US na wala namang pinangako kundi 1 billion investment ano sa kabila ng panloloko ni Babes Romualdez na $30 billion daw ang ipapasok ng Amerikano. Wala pong ganyan. Tayo po ang magpopondo through the Maharlika Investment Fund na kinunan ng pondo ang DBP at Land Bank at Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas para pondohan ang mga ipapasok na American projects po in joint venture with a very, very small clique of oligarchs natin, Rason, Pangilinan, etc. And that one of the items that the American trade delegation brought to fore, Kaado, was the garments daw. Pag-aaralan daw. But this headline po will really show what a big farce all these offers of the Americans about their projects will be, including and in particular garments at this point. Because Business World reports that the European Union favors garments from countries that source their own textiles. Sabi ng ating Philippine exporters. Yan din naman ang gagawin ng Estados Unidos. They cannot make any exception because you cannot produce garments at a cost that can compete in the world market tulad ng garments being produced by Bangladesh, which is the biggest garments exporter now in the world. If you do not produce your own textile in the country. And I recall nga 30 years back, 40 years back, maybe 50 years back pa nga sa panahon po ni Marcos Sr., merong Litex textile mills po sa bansa, international textile mills, I think, Intex ang tawag noon. My friend, late Nards, I forgot his family name for a while. It was manager of Levi's and they were producing their own textile in the country. I used to visit his office dyan po sa May Makati. Trying to remember his name but escapes me for the meantime.
Rodriguez.
Well, anyway, these are realities of economics and we cannot escape this. And because of Cory Aquino and the 40 years of deindustrialization ng ating economy, making us import dependent, nawala po ang ating textile industry. So they are really distorting our economy. They're making us a dependent economy on the US. Oh, I will stop at that before we go into the other issues, economy, Kaado. Your take on any of the issues that we mentioned, especially your posts about the Cha-Cha or the People's Initiative?
Well, I would like to comment on this statement of the Defense Press Corps. Babasahin ko po mga kabansa. The Defense Press Corps of the Philippines takes exception to the baseless allegations of the Chinese Foreign Ministry, which cast aspersions on the integrity of Filipino journalists covering the resupply missions of the Philippine government within its own exclusive economic zone. The journalists who join these missions risk their lives in the face of unwarranted aggression to bring the unvarnished truth to light. It is unfortunate some would still call the work of those independent Filipino journalists as manipulated sensationalism. We reject and condemn this false accusation. No person or organization who wears the true mantle of journalism would allow anyone to dictate, coerce, or otherwise allow anyone, even government, to influence their stories to reflect propaganda and lies. Progressive and civilized nations recognize a free press as one of the foundations of a fair and just society. It is unfortunate that some have not yet realized this truth. Pero ito pong statement, walang signature. Nakalagay lang sa stationery ng Defense Press Corps, Veritas Vincit, at issued noong March 27, 2024. Bakit ayaw niyo ilagay ang mga pangalan niyo dyan? Mga hayupa kayo? Pati kami paglulukuhin niyo. Alam niyo po mga kabansa, yung mga kalokohan nila tungkol sa exclusive economic zone at saka sovereignty rights, no? Matagal na ho namin at paulit-ulit namin inuulit yan sa mga article namin. Iba ho ang sovereignty rights sa sovereignty. Iba ho ang karapatan sa pag-aari. Okay? Kung gusto yung magtayo ng negosyo sa may pag-aaring lupa ng iba, kailangan magbayad kayo ng renta o di kaya hingin nyo ang permiso ng may-ari para kayo makapagtayo ng negosyo dyan. Pero maliwanag naman po sa mga kasulatan na sila rin ang nagbabanggit, mga kabansa, na hindi ho pwede ang exclusive economic zone dyan sa area na yan dahil mismo ang arbitral award sa paragraph 1161. Alam niyo itong arbitral award? This is available freely in the internet. Kaya hindi nila pwede, itong Defense Press Corps, hindi nila pwede sabihin na hindi nila alam ito. They cannot feign ignorance over these matters because it's freely available in the internet. Hindi ho pwede ang EEZ sa isang quintessentially militarized situation at arbitral award na ho ang nagsasabi dyan. Miski na ho yan ay with 105 or within 200 nautical miles from our baselines. Pwede ba kayong mangisda dyan kung may mga militar na naglalayag dyan? There is one basic premise po ng UNCLOS, itong United Nations Convention on the Laws of the Seas. Para mag-apply yan, kailangan may katahimikan, may kapayapaan sa lugar. Kung nagpapatintero dyan ng Pilipino at saka Chinese Coast Guard, paano kayo mangingisda riyan? Meron ba kayong narinig sa Defense Press Corps sa kanilang coverage kay Gibo Chodoro? Dito kay Browner? Dito kay Admiral whatever his name is? Sa PCG, sa National Security Council? Dito kay Jonathan Madaya? Sa military cluster, meron ba kayong narinig na nag-i-issue ng ganyang clarification? Alam niyo mga kabansa, ang territorial sea natin where we have sovereignty, pag-aari natin ang ilalim, ibabaw ng tubig at ang hangin sa itaas ay only 12 nautical miles mula sa ating baseline shores. O kung sabihin naman nila na yung presidential decree ni Marcos na nagtatalaga ng Kalayaan Island Group hindi rin ho, tinatwa rin ho ng arbitral award Sa paragraph 574 naman, that the Philippines could not declare archipelagic baseline surrounding the Spratly Islands. So goodbye na ho yung Kalayaan Island Group na yan. What we hear from the Defense Press Corps is echo kung ano lamang ang sinasabi ng mga kino-quote nila dyan. Wala sila. At kung kasinungalingan, bakit nila kino-quote? Bakit sila nagkakalat ng kalokohan? Wala tayong narinig sa Defense Press Corps ng pag-iiba sa soberanya at sa karapatang sa EEC. So hindi ba yung napakalaking kalokohan, kasinungalingan, kabalintunan? Ay hindi ko ho gagawin yan. No? Alam ko na kayo ay nagre-risk ng inyong buhay dyan. Wala namang pumipigil sa inyo magpakamatay. Kung gusto niyo i-risk ang buhay ninyo, wala kaming pakialam. Pero wag rin kayong magre-reklamo kung kayo ay masusugatan, masasaktan, o mamamatay in the process. Dahil alam nyo na, nagwardyado ng China yan, papasok pa kayo dyan, hindi pa kayo nagdududa? Kung atin yan, bakit wala tayong kontrol? Bakit wala respeto ang kabilang estado sa pagpasok nyo dyan? Hindi pa kayo untog na ninyo ulo ninyo sa pader para baka sakaling kumalog tumanggap ng katotohanan. At mga kabansa, 6% lamang ng ating populasyon, segun sa Pulse Survey, ang sumusuporta dyan sa polisiya na yan na protecting our so-called territory against foreign invaders. Unang-una, wala hong foreign invaders.
Except the Americans. Except the Americans. Nakapasok ang mga Amerikano sa Pilipinas.
Tayo ho ang foreigner dyan sa lugar na yan. Ngayon, in denial pa tayo ng dispute. O, atin yan. So anong gusto ninyo? Anong gusto niyo mangyari? Maniwala kami sa inyo, tanggapin namin na inyong propaganda. Alam naman namin na sunod-sunod lang kayo sa Amerika. Mga ulol kayo dahil 72% po, 72% ng ating populasyon nanghihintay pa sa government response, sa inflation at saka sa ibang economic necessities na napapasa walang bahala dahil sa katarantaduhan yan, si Bobo Marcos na yan. Diyan sa katimugang karagatan. Oh, di ba noon kami itong minabanggit natin, tundo. Oh. Naku, pumunta kami nung bata pa tayo, pumunta kami sa tundo, nabugbog kami. O kaming mga taga San Beda, pinagbabawalan kami na lumakad doon sa papuntang Quiapo, doon sa kaliwa, sa harap ng San Sebastian. Dahil pag dumandaan ho doon ng mga estudyante ng San Beda, kami ay kinukutusan, ginugulpe. O, alam nyo na may delikado doon. Pwede naman kayo duman dito sa kanan. Bakit doon sa kaliwa kayo dadaan? Talagang gusto nyo ng gulpe. Takaw gulpe kayo, mga unggong.
Maidadagdag ko lang, Kado, yung ating mga tripulante, is that the right word for it? Yung mga marina po natin sa unay sa may 1, 2, 3, 4 or kung anong numero nang ginagamit po nila. And our Philippine Coast Guard, not necessarily naghahanap naman na mauntog ang mga ulo nila. Ang mga nag-uutos po, hindi nauuntog ang ulo. Sila Bongbong Marcos, hindi po mauuntog ang ulo ng mga yan. Pero ano magagawa po ng mga ordinary sailors ng ating PCG or Philippine Navy kundi humarap po at isagawa yung mga utos sa kanila. And that is what is going on. Itong mga elite rulers po ng Pilipinas po tumutulak po sa basag ulo, pero sila ang napakalayo, hundreds of kilometers away in Malacanang, in the Congress, in the Senate, wallowing in their luxuries, you know. Kaya po inilagay ko po ito ulit galing kay Mary Joy Madrazo Rojas. Kahit anong klaseng budgeting at pag-iiwas na, pag-cut out, pagtatanggal po ng lalabas papunta para kumain sa mga restaurant, pagtitipid, no? Hindi po talaga maipagkasya na po yung kinikita po ng taong bayan. Instead of taking care of these economic needs of 110 million, 120 million Filipinos, they are catering to the desires of the ruling class in cooperation, in collaboration, in conspiracy with the Americans to push this country to become a milking cow of the American economy and against battering ram against China. Yan lang po ang nangyayari po ngayon.
Mentong,
Yes, Kado.
kung ayaw nilang makinig sa atin, makinig sila kay Antonio Carpio. O yan, isa sa mga santo ninyo. Antonio Carpio. Ito ho sabi ni Antonio Carpio. Resupply mission to BRP Sierra Madre constitute military activity and thus outside the scope of UNCLOS and compulsory arbitration. So for the country to lodge complaints against harassments by China before the UN, the Philippines should now shift to civilian activities so we can go back to the arbitral tribunal. O yan ho, mismong kalaban na namin sa debate. At ahente ng mga gustong magbungkal ng langis at gaas dyan. Sa kanya na ho nanggagaling na mga resupply mission sa BRP Sierra Madre ay mga aktibidades ng militar at ito ay labas sa saklaw ng UNCLOS at sapilitang arbitrasyon. Kaya para makapagsampa ng reklamo sa UN ng Pilipinas ay nararapat na lumipat sa kaugaliang sibilyan bago tayo bumalik sa arbitral tribunal. O yan ho, galing na yan sa abogado nila. Ano kayo mga defense corps kayo dyan? Puro lang kayo, di naman kayo, puro kayo mangmang tsaka mga tamad mag-research.
Okay. I think that sums up the point, Kaado, but let me read some comments here. Ampoxilio says, Good Easter to all. No war with China, peace. And Neil Pepe, bakit walang ASEAN country kumakampi kay bangag na budol-budol man sa kanyang provokasyon sa South China Sea? That is the most glaring point to be made. They keep saying, paulit-ulit nila sinasabi na China is isolated. It is not China that is isolated. It is the Philippines. The Philippines is isolated in ASEAN, isolated from the global south, isolated from the vast majority, 96% of the 194 countries of the United Nations. Okay, let's move on and go back to the economy. Of course, I was explaining about the garments industry na itong mga propaganda nung nakaraang linggo na tinitingnan ng US Trade Delegation ng garments industry, which is impossible to develop in this country without our domestic textile industry. Now, I remember my late friend Nanding Martin of Levi's Corporation. I regularly visited almost every Saturday for some time, but he died very young. But anyway, anong mga naalala mo, Kaado, sa textile natin? I'm sure you remember, no? Yung mga Imperial Textile.
Babalik pa ba dito? Wrangler, Jag, Gap, Levi's. Babalik pa ba dito yung mga yan? Sobra naman, panluloko naman. Alam niyo yung mga US investors na yan, lahat yan pupunta sa power industry. Oh. Di ba sinasabi nga ng Mentong paulit-ulit ang mga oligarko ay kasabwat ng mga Amerikano? Bakit? Habang may gulo, malayo ang tanaw natin sa mataas na electric bill na natatanggap natin buwan-buwan. Nalilisya ang ating atensyon sa mga mataas na bilihin sa merkado. Oh, dahil ang utak natin ay nandiyan tayo, nilulusob tayo na tayo ho ang lumulusob sa China. Ano niyan? Huwag nyo lamang isipin yan mga kabansa. Ibakunan niyo yan sa inyong ulo, sa inyong noo. Ha? Ha? Drill that into your mind. Because that is the truth. Tayo ang pumapasok. Alright? So, yan.
Okay. Yeah. And sabi dito ni Neil Pepe, nabasa ko na po, ano, yung ASEAN, wala nang ni isang bansa ng ASEAN na kumakampi kay bangag na budol-budol man. There's a new name here, Kuldani, hi daw, ano, Anacela Watson says, manawagan ako sa Navy officers, hindi ba pwedeng ini-question mo ang boss mo pag ibala na kayo sa gera na walang katorya-torya? Lalo na may question at issue ang presidente niyong bangag. Shirley De La Cruz is with us, Tony Amor. By the way, they are increasing tension that would lead to war. Even the resupply mission has increased its challenge sa water cannoning of China. Okay. So back to the economy, let's go to the second item sa agenda. Sa kabila ng ating ilang beses na nauulat mula sa different sources, both international and domestic, na problema na po talaga ang traffic po natin. You see this headline po, vehicle sales accelerate by 23% in February. Itong nakaraang Pebrero, nagtaas ng ganyang kalaki po ang vehicle sales. Mayroon ba tayong nakikitang dagdag na tulay, flyover sa Metro Manila? And so on, wala po. So pinagsasamantalahan lang po. Of course, we understand the business sector wants to sell. And syempre, they can defend it by saying, we employ people, we employ many clerks, we employ many salesmen, and so on. But ito po ay dapat function ng government to balance nga investment sa public infrastructure para maganda naman po ang impact ng magandang sales ng mga vehicles or other things. Pero hindi po unbalanced. Benta ng benta but public investment po sa infrastructure halos zero ngayon. Wala po tayong nakikita, parang nung panahon ni Cory Aquino. Sa buong term ni Cory Aquino na ilang taon po, anong naipagmamalaki lang ni Cory Aquino? Yung flyover sa EDSA. Iisa na ipagmamalaki ng Cory Revolution. Now, this of course is also destroying our economy as we have reported, which we will now look back to. Ang Management Association of the Philippines, just to remind everybody, and thank you to Al Galang for posting this, and we have been using it again and again. Yung Management Association of the Philippines, the top managers of the country, humihingi po ng deklarasyon ng calamity. The calamity declaration over traffic woes in Metro Manila kasi po ito ay umaabot po ng 3,500,000,000 pesos daily losses to the economy. Araw-araw na kalugihan po. Araw-araw na nawawala po sa Philippine economy ay 3.5 billion pesos, 35 billion pesos every 10 days, and almost 100 billion pesos every month. 1.2 trillion pesos every year. Yan po. Nobody talks about it. Thank you nga kay Al Galang ulit for posting this. This report of course came from ANC. Maybe once lang nila inulat. Mabuti na huli po ni Al Galang at na-post po, which we will we can repeatedly report to our people. Now, Pebrero, tumaas na naman ng 26% ng car sales, but we don't see any mitigation of the traffic, lack of infrastructure, traffic infrastructure. And just to go back to what we have reported before, the most traffic jams in Southeast Asian cities is Manila. 27 minutes, 20 seconds. Of course, Jakarta has its problems also, 23 minutes, 20 seconds. Bangkok, 21 minutes, 40 seconds. But sa atin po, 27 minutes, 20 seconds ang paghihintay sa traffic ng bawat vehicle. And that is number one in Southeast Asian cities. So, konektado po lahat yan. And before we go on, Kaado, ikaw nasa motoring sector ka dati. You are one of the marketing people of Toyota Philippines. You have a lot of insights sa automotive sector. What can you say about this?
Well, alam mo ka, Mentong, wala na tayong kalye. Ang punot dulo nito ay nung panahon ho ni Marcos Sr., meron tayong land use. Meron tayong batas na nagtatalaga ng paggamit ng lupa. Urban at rural. At dyan ho nagtatalaga. Ewan ko kayong mga kasing edad namin, ewan ko natatandaan ninyo na noon, ini-encourage ang mga negosyante na yung mga empleyado nila hanggat maaari ay within 3 to 5 kilometers lamang ang radius para sila ay makapasok ng maliit lamang kanilang ginagastos na pasahe. At saka hindi na kailangan maglayag ng mula halimbawa mula Baclaran, magtatrabaho ka sa Quezon City, baka naman meron ka ng trabaho makuha sa Makati o ikaw ay taga Quezon City, ay diyan ka na lamang sa Maynila o di kaya dito sa hanggang Mandaluyong, huwag ka nang tumawid ng Ilog Pasig. So far, alam nyo ba mga kabansahan, tulong na ibinigay ng Amerika sa atin? Yang Jones Bridge, 1920 pa ho yan. Nasira pa noong World War II. Pinakumpuni pa ng Amerikano noong 1946 hanggang 49. Yung mga sila rin ang bumomba dyan, by the way. No? At marami mga Pilipino namatay sa binomba nila ng mga building sa Manila in the so-called liberation of Manila. Pero mga kabansa, bago tayo malis yan ng topic, wala na ho tayong kalsada. Kung hindi lalabas ng gobyerno ang pangil, ako ho ay merong proposal dyan sa EDSA na ang EDSA ay ideklara na HOV, High Occupancy Vehicle. Ibig sabihin, kung hindi tatlo o labis tatlo ang nakasakay sa isang sasakyan, hindi na kayo pwedeng mag-EDSA. Maghanap na lang kayo ng ibang daraanan mula north hanggang south, no? Mula east hanggang west. Mga HOV lanes ho yan. Ano ibig sabihin? Karamihan ho ng sasakyan dyan, isa lang ang nakasakay. At ang mga Pilipino ay hindi tuloy ma-educate tungkol doon sa tinatawag na kiss and ride, no? Ano ibig sabihin? Ang gobyerno dapat magtalaga ng mga parking lots kung saan pwedeng iwanan ang mga sasakyan at mag-MRT na lamang mula doon sa parking hanggang doon sa paroroonan. Mga parking lots alam nyo, sa US, bawat istasyon ng LRT may parking lot para iiwan na lang nila roon ang kanilang sasakyan at magkukommute na lang sila all the way out. At mura lamang ang parking. Siguro kung ang parking ay 30 pesos lamang paghapon hanggang 50, marami ho magpapark dyan. Hindi ho eh. Isa lang ang karga, driver pa. Ha? Lahat nandyan sa EDSA. Imbudo ho yan eh. Imbudo. Kaya wala na hong pag-asa yung EDSA. Yan hong EDSA ay patay na kung walang regulasyon, walang gobyerno, ha, na mamamahala dyan. Meron ba kayo nakikitang gobyerno na napapatakbo ng EDSA? Wala ho. So kanya-kanya. Ganyan ho. At ang EDSA, nagre-reflect ho yan ng utak Pilipino. Kanya-kanya. Oh.
Yeah. Okay.
Pati yung pintura ng mga linya, wala na ho. May nakita ba kayong pintura dyan, no? Dito sa picture? Wala na ho. Ang traffic management ho, 3 is engineering, education, enforcement. Meron ba kayong engineering nakita dyan? Wala mga linya, wala mga pasilidad para bumili sa mga kotse. Meron ba kayo nakikitang edukasyon dyan? Wala. Meron ba kayo nakikitang enforcement dyan? Wala. At kung may enforcement man, maghanda na kayo ng 500 dahil pag kayo nahuli, yun ang lisensya nyo. Yung 500 hanggang 1,000 piso. Kanya-kanya ho tayo. Anong ginagawa ng MMDA? Ang lalaki ng sweldo. Ang dami ng pasweldo dyan. Ghost employees. Asa ng mga traffic enforcers? Wala. Ito lang. Very simple. Mentong. Papasok ka dito sa show. Crossing. Sa EDSA. Papasok ka sa underpass. Dapat, pag pumasok ka sa underpass, diretso ka na all the way hanggang ADB. Wala, kaso, ano nangyayari? Paglabas galing underpass, kakanan. Yung mga nasa kanan naman, na dumaan ng service road, kakaliwa. So, anong takbo sa ating underpass? 10 kilometers per hour. Diretso lang yan eh. Bakit pa tayo napagawa na underpass kung magkaka-traffic dyan? Tuloy-tuloy dapat yan hanggang doon sa overpass ng Green Hills. Oh, yung mga overpass, bakit nagkaka-traffic dyan? Wala hong enforcement.
Yeah. Okay, well, idadagdag ko lang po yung one of the reasons why we have very much less infrastructure projects yung ginagawa ni BBM nga ngayon at yung mga public utilities natin na na-privatize po, trillion po ang kinikita nun para kay Ramon Ang, kay Manny Pangilinan and so on. Yung po ang dating ginagamit po ni Marcos Sr. sa public investment, the non-tax revenues ng gobyerno. I'd like also to read Algalang's addition to our information about the past textile industries in the country kasi itong mga I was trying to remember, I could not remember them. Thanks to Algalang who mentions now, Mentong, those were the days of Crispa, Utex, Universal Textile, Liton Mills, etc. It pays to have somebody from our generation join us and recall these things. Kasi yung mga nakakabata po sa atin do not even know that we had such a robust textile industry in the country. And they were the ones that were running the basketball tournaments in the country. Ngayon, puro power companies and so on ang may basketball teams. Dati, Liton Mills had their basketball team. Utex was a very strong team and so on. Kasi may pera ang mga textile industry companies noon. And that was all wiped out under Cory Aquino in the counter-revolution of EDSA 1. Talagang inubos nila ang mga industriya. Kaya po may problema po tayo sa empleo and all these problems. We cannot revive the garments industry because of what happened after Cory took over the reins of government, the counter-revolution. Okay, nawala si Kado sa screen na. Baka we have to ask Ka Joshua to check this up, no? Ka Joshua.
Medyo mahina lang yung internet eh.
Yung okay. So again, we refocus on the economy, but on the economic alliances the Bongbong administration is establishing. Obviously, he is going with the Western economy, but look at what he is leaving behind, no? In pivoting to the United States. It is the Asian economy that is forecast to grow by 4.5%. Of course, this was the report from the BOA report that was just issued a few weeks ago in the conference in Boao, southern China's Hainan province, 4.5%. Of course, one of the biggest drivers here are the two of the biggest drivers here are the Chinese economy, which is expected to grow by 5.2% or thereabouts, and the Indian economy. So it's not only the Chinese economy, but the Indian economy in Asia will be growing. India is projected in this year to grow by 7% up, and up to 8%. So yan po ang dahilan din kung bakit ang Amerika nagpipilit po bumalik po sa Asia at kontrolin ang ekonomiya ng Pilipinas at ang politika ng Pilipinas, dahil po ito ang jumping board nila para doon sa tagumpay ng pivot to Asia na noong 2011 pa po inanunsyo at nilunsad nung Presidente Obama at that time. So yan po ang strategic view. Of course, China has a strategic view. That is why it is preparing its defenses to defeat America without a war. It now has 370 warships compared to America's 300. Some estimate America even has only 270 or 280. And the big difference is China's warships are concentrated here in its own backyard, and in Western Pacific. While America's Navy is scattered all over the world and being hit in the Red Sea by the Houthis, and they're all over the world being pressured by different challenges and wars that they cause also. So let's look at the Western economy. Before that po, I came across this. Well, let me just check if I can. So I'll go back to the theme of the global economy. So this is from Business Insider from the United States. Sabi po ng ulat na to from one of the major business magazines of the Americans. No soft landing. The U.S. economy is going to fall into recession in the middle of 2024. Citibank's chief economist says. And the European Union, let me see if I have the data. Ito po. Barron's, another business magazine from the West and from Europe. I think this is from, well, anyway, the report is from Agence France Presse. European Union cuts Eurozone 2024 growth forecast to 0.8%. Of course, in Germany, it's negative growth. But suma total sa lahat ng mga European countries, I think over 20 countries in the European Union, 0.8%. So why is Bongbong Marcos allying and pivoting to the West, given these prospects? And well, just for the return of his father's stolen or hidden wealth, And so it's all personal interest po ni Bongbong Marcos and Liza Araneta. So I will now go to this. This is very important po. Hindi ko lang nalagay sa tamang lugar. It should be later, but I'll bring it up already. And this is also in connection with our problems with the South China Sea, with China, because ang talagang nagtutulak po nitong away sa China para masolo ng kumpanyang Forum Energy and Philex Mining and this group with the Salim Group and the American Financial Mafia. And itong mga information na to, I don't know who created this post, pero pinagsuma po rito yung content ng libro ni Bobby Tiglao tungkol dito sa bagay na to. ang pagsasama po ng interest ni Rason, Salim Group, MVP, Ong Pin, who passed away already, and of course the late Del Rosario, Albert Del Rosario. No, so Del Rosario Salim MVP's First Pacific has been interested in Reed Bank way before 2011. Del Rosario MVP offered Spratlys to China a stake in it, but was rejected. No? China rejected the offer. We have been reporting this. That's an input that I wanted to make sure everybody takes note of, because yan po ang nasa likod po lahat ng ginagawa po ng Philippine government for the past how many years now? 15 years, 14 years. At it is only for their interest and not for the interest of the Filipino people. And they will push the country to war with China just to have them control this business. And of
Well,
course, the America backs them up. Before I finish, let me finish. America backs them up because America wants control of the Philippines naman. Kaado, go ahead.
well, tatlo rito sa litratong pinakita nyo ay patay na. Si Ong Pin, si Salim at si Del Rosario, sumalangit nawa kanilang kaluluwa. Happy Easter! Pagdasal nyo kami rito sa lupa dahil iniwanan nyo kami. At dinadala kami ng mga naiwan yung si Carpio, Rason at Pangilinan sa gera. Sasabihin ko lang sa madlang people kung bakit ginagwardyahan, bakit wala rito sa Reed Bank ang gulo at nasa Ayungin Shoal. Dahil ang Ayungin Shoal po, para makarelate kayo mga kabansa, at ito ihasik nyo sa mga kapitbahay nyo, sa mga mangalak ninyo, ang Ayungin Shoal po ang bukana. Yun, kasi puro bahura yan puro reefs, puro yung pasok papuntang Reed Bank, yung Ayungin Shoal, dyan dadaan. Kaya yan ang mataimtim na ginagwardahan at pinagkakaguluhan. Kaya whoever controls Ayungin Shoal controls Reed Bank. Pagka kayo ay nasa loob na Reed Bank, hindi kayo makakalabas. Pabalik sa kagitnang Spratly Islands kung hindi dadaan sa Ayungin Shoal. Alam naman ninyo mga kabansa na si Manny Pangilinan ay yan ang may-ari ng Meralco, si Rason ang may-ari ngayon ng Maalampaya, at si Carpio naman ang kanilang ano man tawag dito, parot, no? Ito kanilang nanggulo na naman ito recently, Mentong bago mag Holy Week, dahil sabi niya mabago-bago isip nito matandang to Hindi ko maintindihan kung siya ay pabor sa gobyerno o pabor sa Salim Group o ano. Mabago-bago. Wala raw karapatan ang presidente ng Pilipinas gumawa ng foreign policy. So far ito pinaka-idiotic na narinig ko kay Carpio. At ako'y maglalabas ngayong araw na ito ng column. Abangan ninyo sa AsianCenturyPH.com ang aking column na lalabas na itong si Carpio ay may panibagong gulong ginagawa dahil siya ay ang kakompetensya nito si Harry Roque. By the way, sa Miyerkules mga kabasa, iniimbitahan namin kayo sa isang forum. No, habang nandyan pa kayo, ay marinig nyo na alas 10 sa Miyerkules ay meron tayong forum kung saan si Harry Roque ang aming bisita. Kaya sumubaybay lamang kayo at hanapin ang link para kayo masama dyan sa Miyerkules. For the meantime, ito kaya dahil dito, sinasabi nila, pag-aari natin ang lugar na yan. Of course, that is a disputed area, mga kabansa. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, meron lang akong update galing kay Peter Muto. Kasi tinanong ko kung anong lagay ni General Victor Corpus sa Veterans Medical Memorial Center. Sabi ko, House Vic, and ngayon sumagot po si Peter Mutok, good morning. Originally, it was a mild stroke until he had relapsed and was transferred to the ICU. I will try to get update from Vic's daughter, Cynthia. Happy Easter Sunday. Okay, hintayin po natin ang update po. Maybe tayo ay nabilinan po ni General Victor Corpus ng mga huling mga revisions sa aklat niya at yung supplement na ating isisingit at padadala po doon sa mga nakabili na po ng libro niya at na bigyan ng libro niya. So we have a duty to perform for retired General Victor Corpus, and we are of course hoping for the best from his present condition. Si Nick Elman naman po nag-text ng sagot niya watching our show. Dito sa Messenger naman siya sumasagot. Ahente si BBM ng Kano at mga foreign investor para patuloy na rapin, gahasain ang ating pambansang likas yaman at patuloy na alipinin ang mga manggagawang Pilipino. Thank you for your feedback there. Okay. So these are some realities of our economy. Disjointed po ang mga policies and all because of EDSA 1, counter-revolution laban po sa mga magandang ginagawa na sana inumpisahan po ni Marcos Sr. Unfortunately, si Marcos Jr. ang talagang siyang ibinabaliktad lahat po na ginawa po ni Marcos Sr. Okay, and so let's move on sa ating evaluation. It's now we go to the US-China-Philippine relations, and ito po yung latest propaganda from the US with Bongbong Marcos. The US Admiral says the Philippines can invoke the Mutual Defense Treaty if sea attacks kill soldier or sailors. Now, this is, of course, Admiral John Aquilino. He's not a Pinoy. He's not a former Pinoy, apparently. But anyway, he is talking out of his hat. Because as Marcos Sr. says, even if the Philippines invokes the MDT, the Philippines can invoke the MDT. It doesn't mean the US will respond to the invocation. Pero magandang sabihin po ni John Aquilino, Admiral Aquilino, for the propaganda of the Americans and the US proxies in the Philippines. Yan. And of course, US din, lawmakers, mga kongresista nila, kasama ang US Ambassador sa Pilipinas and Deputy Chief of Mission, yung mataba na dyan, ay tutulong daw sa Pilipinas sa palag sa mga agresibong aksyon ng China. Well, unfortunately, itong Philippine media is being led by the nose dito sa mga propaganda ng Amerikano probably without knowing the consequences of what they're doing. But anyway, that's Philippine media. Kaya po ang sagot, again, the Chinese ministries and the Chinese Defense Ministry addresses everything to the Philippines, no? Kasi yun ang kausap nila dapat dito sa rehiyon na to. Sabi naman ng China po, we are fully prepared, says China, on growing support for Philippines in Sea Row, yung suporta ng Amerika. This is a report from my recollection, hindi ko na ilagay, Manila Times ata to, no? But anyway, I'm not sure. So yan po ang mga propaganda. And the Chinese reaction, the Chinese report from the Global Times, Manila escalates South China Sea row as it continues to trick of playing victim. And sabi ng China has a rich toolkit. Marami silang iba't ibang mga paraan to respond despite US being biggest external disturbance. Paulit-ulit lang ina-identify ng China ang Estados Unidos sa likod po ng lahat ng mga gulong ito. na sadyang ginagawa. But as we are reminded kanina, there is no international support except yung mga kasabwat po ng Amerikano, yung mga Western countries, and India naglalaro. But we have also shown that India nag-hedge po. Hindi po todo bigay ang India. Naglalaro-laro sila sa Amerikano, but they did not condemn the water cannoning and these other actions. No, in principle, India will say we support the UNCLOS, of course, because even China is following the UNCLOS. It is only America that is not a member of UNCLOS and interfering on in UNCLOS issues. And let me check the next one. But of course, Vietnam is more intelligent. I put this in because our Philippine media is not discussing this. But we can help share this sa ating mga kasama at sa madla.
What?
Ano po itong ulat na to from a Vietnamese source po ito. I'm using the cutting tool ngayon kasi kaya kung minsan di ko na maibalikan at mailagay po yung source. But this is from a Vietnamese publication by John. No, I'm sorry. I now remember where this news report was obtained. No, this is from the U.S. Naval Institute. So U.S. Navy mismo ang nag-uulat po nito. USNI, U.S. Naval Institute po galing ito by John Grady, March 27, 2024. Hanoi's bamboo diplomacy preserves Vietnamese independence, says Foreign Minister ng Vietnam. And itong quote from the report itself says, Vietnam's bamboo diplomacy has allowed Hanoi to carefully enter strategic partnerships with the US and China while maintaining its own independence and security, its foreign minister said Tuesday at a Brookings Institute event. So inimbita po ng US institution yung Vietnamese foreign minister. At yan po ang sabi ni Vietnamese foreign minister, bamboo diplomacy ang isinasagawa po ng Vietnam. Kaya po naisip ko po na sa aking susunod na article po for Pinoy Expose, or maybe I can suggest this to Karod Kapunan, na to write about the bamboo diplomacy of Vietnam and the bamboozle diplomacy of the Philippines. Let's see who will be the first to write about it. Yan, and well, of course, yung propaganda ng US proxies in the Philippines, lalo-lalo na social media, sobrang dami po talaga, nagdadagsaan. Ito, one nationalist he's trying to fool a lot of other Filipinos who are ignorant of international law, history, and realities. No? Sinasabi nitong one nationalist na to, why the Philippines owns the West Philippine Sea and China, yung proximity argument, na mas malapit daw ang Maayungin sa Pilipinas, kaya Pilipinas ang may-ari niyan. Well, of course, Vietnam does not agree either. And maybe Malaysia, I don't know the limits of Malaysia's claim po dyan sa areas na yan. But there are other claimants. I think Taiwan includes it in their claim. But anyway, the argument simply is demolished when you cite Hawaii and the distance to America, Falklands and the distance to England, and so many other instances in international geography and territorial history. So this is just to expose another propaganda of the US proxies in the Philippines. Okay, before we go to Anna's comment, let's go back to all these things that we have already been brought up. Kado, anything you want to add? Bamboo diplomacy versus bamboozle diplomacy. Yang mga playing victims ng Pilipinas sa South China Sea. Yang banta ni Admiral John Aquilino, na if MDTC attacks kill soldier, kahit water cannon, that's the implication. Or sailor, pwede daw invoke MDT. Well, ang reaksyon ko dito sa sinabi po ni John Aquilino, Admiral ng US, is baka naghahanda na sila ng unang ah, sailor ng Pilipinas na kanilang isasakripisyo sa isang false flag dyan sa next few operations ng the RORE ng Philippine Coast Guard. Kaado, go ahead.
Hindi covered yan ng Mutual Defense Treaty.
Mm.
Ang sundalo ay hindi vessel, hindi barko, hindi eroplano.
Mm.
Pangalawa, teka, alam mo ba ito si Aquilino may Filipino blood?
Well, duda ako sa itsura niya. Meron ba talaga?
Meron ito. Ito siguro fourth generation ito
Halos wala na.
Siguro ito Pilipino ito, pero nung panahon pa lang ni Aguinaldo ang ninuno nito. So mga fourth generation ito. Anyway, alam nyo ba mga kabansa kung gaano katagal na ipasa ng American Congress ang bagong suporta sa Ukraine? Ang Ukraine ho inabot ho ng halos lampas 1 taon bago nakapaglabas ng $110 billion ang Amerika, tapos tuwa si Zelensky. Ayun pala, 60 lamang doon ang sa Ukraine, 30 ang sa Israel para sa Gaza, at 10 para sa Taiwan. Alam nyo ba kung magkano para sa Pilipinas? 82 million lang ho. 60 billion para sa Ukraine. 82 million para sa Pilipinas. Ano ba kayo mga kabasa? Gumising na nga kayo. Ha? Sa madalit sabi, barya-barya ang darating sa Pilipinas. Inabot ho yan ng halos 1 taon bago na ilabas sa US Congress. Kaya sinasabi na nga ni Marcos Sr. nung siya ay mag-speech sa National Press Club sa Amerika noong 1982. Ha? What does that mean? Sabi niya. That means delay. What does that mean? That means while you are discussing it here to pass a law, kasi sa Amerika, by the way, mga kabansa, bawal magpasa ng batas na walang kaukulang identifikasyon kung saan kayo huhugot ng pera. You cannot pass a law in the US without the financial enforcement. No? Kailangan i-identify kung saan manggagaling yung appropriation. So it's an appropriation bill for the purpose of going to war with China. Aabutin ho tayo ng 1 taon. So anong konklusyon ni Marcos Sr.? While you are talking here, while you are debating here in Washington, sabi niya, we will already be dying over there. Over here sa Pilipinas. Ha? So ganyan ho yan. Ngayon, ito mga picture-picture na pinapakita nila, susuporta daw sila, US lawmakers, pupunta dito, may magagawa ba yung mga alam nyo ho, hindi nyo alam ang buhay sa Amerika napakabilis ho ng pace ng buhay sa Amerika. Pagdating ko sa Amerika ng mga yan after nito mga selfie nito wala nang pakialam sa Pilipinas yung mga yan. Yan ho nagpunta lamang dito para magpropaganda dahil alam nyo na may election sa Amerika ngayon yung November this year, no? Kaya kailangan pumunta sila dyan. Pumunta sila sa Taiwan. Natatandaan nyo mga pumunta sa Taiwan? For the meantime, mga kabansa, ang China, wala namang gagawin ng China kundi maghintay lang At ako'y tahas na nagsasabi dahil nagwa-warning na sila sa third party na makikialam dito sa South China Sea. No? Kasi dito wala hong ako palagay ko lang Palagay ko lang, opinion ko lang ito. Pagka meron ho dyan na nag-joint patrol na third party naval force, palagay ko ho, kulang na lang palubugin ng China yan eh. Hindi ho bibitaw ang China. At saka alam mo ba, Mentong, sa kadahilanan na sa Cairo Conference, nung mag-meeting si Chiang Kai-shek with, sino ba ito? Si Churchill at saka si Roosevelt, nag-meeting sila sa Cairo noong 1943. Isa sa mga layunin ng Cairo Conference ay ibalik ang lahat ng teritoryo na ninakaw ng bansang Hapon sa bansang Chino. So, ang nangyari dyan, nung natapos na ang gera, pumunta na ang mga Chinese, mga Chino, nagpunta na sa Hainan, nagpunta na sa Ituaba, nagpunta na sa Spratlys, para tanggapin ang pagsuko ng Hapon, bansang Hapon, ng mga teritoryong yan, yung pinag-aawayan ngayon, no? Pagsoli sa China. Alam mo ba kung kanino pa humiram ang China ng barko para pumunta sa mga lugar na yan? Sa mga Amerikano. O basahin ninyo kasi saya ng mundo. Ngayon, yan ang mga teritoryong yan ay isinauli ng Hapon dahil nilusob nila yan. Specifically, nilusob nila yung Spratlys noong 1938-39, and I think 1939 ang Paracels, nilusob nila yan. Inukupahan ho ng Hapon yan. Kinuha ho yan sa China. Isinahuli ho yan noong 1946 at humiram pa ang bansang China ng barko para tanggapin ang pag-surrender ng Hapon sa mga nasabing isla. Asan tayo? Kumuha lang ho tayo ng claim dyan, 1978 na eh. 3 years after pagkaroon ng diplomatic relations between People's Republic of China and the Philippines. 1978. Ilang taon ho yan mula 1946. Sus Mariosep, ano na mga kabansa, total, kukwentuhan na tayo rito, na noong 1946, binigyan, 11 dash line ho, original dyan eh. Binigyan ho ng bansang Chino ang Vietnam ng 2 dash line. At yung isang isla sa gitna ng linya ay ibinigay na rin sa Vietnam. Can you imagine that, mga kabansa? Pagka kayo ay magaling kapitbahay, miski nag-aalitan, bukas ang loob ng Chino. Hindi dahil ito ay propaganda, kundi ito ho'y nasa kasaysayan na ang bansang China ay nagbigay ng 2 dash line sa bansang Vietnam noong 1946 ba yun? Basta, ano yan, after the World War II. After World War II. At si Chow Enlai pa ang gumawa niyan on the request of Vietnam sa Ho Chi Minh. So, yan o mga kabansa, no? Kung kakausapin lang natin ang China na maayos dito, hindi naman tayo ginugulo ng Chino sa sa Pag-asa Island. We have occupied Pag-asa Island, di ba? Meron ba provocation doon? Wala naman. Ngayon, pag naglalayag na tayo palabas ng Pag-asa Island, dyan ho, pagka pumapasok na tayo doon sa teritoryong ginagawa dyan ng China, natural lamang magkakaroon ng challenge. Pero basta tayo nasa Pag-asa Island, hindi ho tayo ginagalaw. Ay ibig sabihin, the Chinese are willing to share this territory basta maayos ang usapan. Basta maayos ang usapan. Kung patintero gusto natin, bibigyan din ho tayo ng patintero ng Chino. Ganyan lang ho yan eh. Ngayon, ano makukuha natin? Ano nakuha natin dito sa Amerika? Nakatulong ba sa inflation ang mga tulong na binibigay ng Amerika sa ating military? At bakit tayo naghahanda? Ganong ang conflict ay hindi naman sa atin kundi sa Amerika. Yan lang ho mga katanungan dinaragdag ko sa usapin ngayong umaga.
Okay, thank you, Ado. And I'll ask Ka Joshua kung kaya bang mag-raffle today kasi Ka Joshua is out of town. Siya ay ma-manage po ng ating technicals from out of Manila. Nasa probinsya po siya. Nasa bakasyon kaya we're not sure yung komplikadong system na kanyang ginagamit po dahil dumadaan po ang kanyang mga instructions sa computer ko at computer niya po sa Santa Mesa. We're not sure, although very many are interested in joining our raffle today. So, Ka Joshua, if you can hear me, you have any instruction? Mukhang hindi pa na-post yung pang-register for the raffle, no? But if we cannot have the raffle, we can understand. We also thank Rowena. Sandali, merong pumasok na ano. Rowena Quimado for 300 pesos donation again. Thank you very much. Very regular po ang donation ni Madam Rowena Quimado. Thank you very much. It's very, very helpful. Sabi ni Agustin Makalintal, it's sa puwera na Pinas kapag nagkasundo ang US-China sa 40-40, sharing sila at 10% sa Pilipinas, 10% sa ahente. Possible kay Budolman Team. Okay. Don Polobe is a new name, alias Panga 2024. YT official channel. Hindi ko naintindihan but thank you for commenting. Carlos Miguel 18 says, Sir, hindi ko maintindihan. Makipaglaban tayo na hindi man lang ako nakaswimming sa ayungin na yan. Dapat ipa-enlist ang mga anak ni BBM at anak ng mga congressman nila. Okay. Tungkol naman dyan sa territorial and the proximity, sabi niya mismo ang Guernsey, hindi ko ma-pronounce ang tama ata yan, no? Mismo nasa loob ng France pero UK territory at ang Gibraltar, yung Madeira, Portugal at Tenerife, Spain ay nasa Africa na mismo. So yung distance po is not a factor in territorial claim and possession. Okay. So it's 9:24. Let's move on from the Ayungin Shoal issue to the si comment po ni Kabansang Ana Malindogoy. The United States, they always deal with a person because ginagamit nila ang tao to get what they want in a country. So this ang tinutukoy po ditong person na to ay si Bongbong Marcos, no? Ginagamit ng US si Bongbong Marcos, ka-deal nila. Instead of dealing with the Philippines as a republic formally, pinapasukan nila yung mga tao, yung presidente, yung mga operators like Tariela and so on, yun ang mga ka-deal po nila. That's why, sabi ni Ana, di ba, they always back up. Like Zelensky, ayun, inalagaan nila si Zelensky. If Zelensky is not backed up by the US, he will not be anymore the president of Ukraine. Kasi ang United States, mahilig sa deal na yung tao in exchange kung ano ang mga personal interest niya. So kung tatanungin mo ako kung may deal si President Marcos with the United States, the possibility of that is higher and more believable compared to the Duterte-China deal ko. No. My analysis is Marcos had a deal with the United States even before the election. Well, yun lang lumalabas mukhang may planchado na po ang plano nila ni Bongbong Marcos at ng mga Amerikano in exchange for the Marcos wealth. Okay, mabilis ang diskusyon natin kaado, no? And we're now going international issues. But before that, check ko lang, may kung Ka Joshua is out of contact right now. We don't know if we can do our raffle yet, no? But we'll wait a while. Baka pumasok po si Joshua. While I'm waiting for Joshua, I also like to read the additional information from Al Galang tungkol sa vehicle sales. Sabi niya, vehicle sales show 45% are light vehicles and AUVs, a whopping 34% increase they contributed. And one of the reasons why malakas daw ang benta, good interest rates attract car sales. Ibig sabihin, mababa ang interest rates ngayon. Maraming mga installment plans. Napakamura. You can get a car on 15,000, 18,000 a month. Ano? And sabi ni Algalang, Mentong, although nowadays I seldom drive if my destination is more than 5 kilometers, I take the train, libre sakay bus of Quezon City or the taxi cab. Well, ako dito sa area ko, kung pwedeng lakarin ko, nilalakad ko po kahit na yan. Sabi ni Alga ng 2 to 3 kilometers distance, I walk with a water bottle.
Mentong,
Yes, go ahead.
idaragdag ko lang. Ang problema kasi ng automotive utilization sa Pilipinas is pag binili mo, up to sawa na. So talagang mag-iimbudo mga sasakyan sa kalsada. Sa Japan, pagka tumagal ng 7 taon ang iyong sasakyan, dahil maliit ho mga kalye sa Japan eh. Pagdating ng 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, pwede rin kayo pwede rin patubuan nyo ng anong tawag niya? Kulaba. Patubuan nyo ng tahong yung sasakyan nyo, no? Pero paglampas ho ng 7 years old, pataas ho na every year, tataas ang road tax. Sa makatuwid, dinidiscourage ng Hapon ang mga sasakyan more than 7 years old. Bakit po mga kabansa? Unang-una, ini-encourage nila na bumalik sa resale ang mga Hapon para bumili ng bago kapalit ng luma. At yung luma, papunta sa used car market, i-export nila sa Africa. Nawawala ho yung lumang sasakyan. No? Pangalawa, ang volume na nasa kalsada, hindi geometrical ang increase. Hindi geometrical. No? At pangatlo, environment friendly, dahil mas maraming bagong sasakyan, mas kakaunti ang usok. At pang-apat, mga kabansa, ang ekonomiya dahil bibilis ang resale, ang pagpapalit ng kotse, ang economy ay tuloy-tuloy dahil umaandar yung pera. Ang Pilipino, ito lang ang ating problema, itong mga jeepney hanggang ngayon eh. Panahon pa ho ni Marcos Sr. Gusto na ho i-phase out yan. Aba, panahon na ho ni Marcos Jr. Nandiyan pa rin yung mga jeepney. Hindi ko minumungkahin na mga jeepney ay alisin. Pero ito ay dapat ng paltan sa modernization. Kung gusto ninyong yung jeepney ninyo, ay paltan nyo ng brand new na makina. Yan lang ho hinihingi. Dahil Euro 4 na ho ang minimum requirement sa gasoline emission ng carbon sa ating kapaligiran, sa ating sa environment. So yan ang rason. But dito sa Pilipinas, nakatanga mga congressmen, wala namang ginagawa kundi hearing, wala namang batas na ginagawa kundi palit na mga pangalan ng mga kalsada, palit na mga pangalan ng mga gusali, amyenda dito, amyenda doon, walang bago. Walang nangyayaring bago. Yan ang problema ng Pilipino. Kaya ho, ayan, ang basura natin sa sakyan, magkakahalo na dyan sa kalsada natin. Kaya wag na kayo magtaka. Ako ho mga kabansa, I am proud to say na I only make, now, 3 full tanks every 2 months. Bakit? Iniiwan ko na ho, sasakyan ko dun sa tapat ng bahay ni Mentong at ako'y nagta-tricycle na lamang at nagko-commute. Bakit ako paluloko dyan sa mga may-ari bakit ako paluloko dyan kay Rason? At saka dyan sa may-ari ng Petron na si, anong pangalan niyan? Si may-ari ng San Miguel Corporation, Sus Mariosep. Kayo na lang. Kung gusto niyo magsunog ng gasolina, bahala kayo. Mahal na ang gasolina. Salamat po.
Okay, in connection, I'll go back one frame. In connection with the interpretation nga, nabanggit ni Kaado yung sitwasyon ni Zelensky na umabot ng 1 taon yung huling tranche ng financial support na hinihingi ni Zelensky. In connection also with the MDT invocation, kung sakaling may matay na sailor, na Philippine sailor or soldier, no? The interpretation and the debate in the US will take a lot of time, including this report nga from the Russia Today tungkol doon sa posibilidad na kung ang tropa ng mga Ruso ay makapatay po ng mga tropa ng NATO. Russian attack on NATO troops in Ukraine won't trigger Article 5 media reports. So German parliamentary experts have evaluated the implications of an attack on NATO troops in Ukraine, according to a report seen by DPA. But anyway, so yan po ang laro nitong mga sakanluran dito sa mga schemes nila para isubo ang mga bansang tinatarget nila sa gera laban sa kanilang kalaban. Tama si Kaado, I agree that the US will keep debating about this until the whole of the country, the Philippines, is consumed by war. Anyway, we now move on to the latest controversy, itong sinasabi na yung public statement po ni dating spokesperson ni Duterte, si Attorney Harry Roque, and this is expressed in this headline. C. Duterte agreed to keep West Philippine Sea status quo. Now, that's important. It's a general agreement on the status quo. And some details po is provided by Harry. Sabi niya, yes to status quo, no to removal of BRP Sierra Madre in Ayungin. Roque said in a text message when asked to confirm reports quoting him as saying that the Duterte had a gentleman's agreement with China on keeping the status quo in the West Philippine Sea. No specific agreement on Ayungin. So Ayungin, walang specific agreement. But this is where we will point out the error of Carpio saying that the agreement that Harry Roque is talking about is about Ayungin. Anyway, we'll go to that later in a while. In 2017, then Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana told members of the House of Representatives that a modus vivendi, an arrangement between the two parties with different views on the West Philippine Sea row, was brokered by former Foreign Affairs Secretary Alan Cayetano. Now, let's go back again to history to show the facts of history. Before that, sabi nga ni Carpio, Duterte exceeded authority in gentleman's agreement. And let's look at some of the details if we can. Hindi ko ata ma-expand. Retired Supreme Court Justice Carpio on Thursday said former President Rodrigo acted beyond his authority and surrendered the country's rights if he did indeed enter into a gentleman's agreement with China not to maintain BRP Sierra Madre, the Philippine Marine Outpost. Harry Roque specifically mentioned the agreement does not cover BRP Sierra Madre. So malina naman dito, dakdak ng dakdak itong si Carpio na hindi naman alam ang kanyang pinagsasabi. Sabi
Comment
ni,
to.
yes, go ahead.
Itong ginawa ni Carpio dito ay pabali-balintong ang kanyang ang kanyang stand dito sa UN eh. At ito ang classic na example ng mga defense press corps. Ha? Ano bang sabi niya? If he did indeed enter into a gentleman's agreement with China not to maintain BRP Sierra Madre, if, ano ibig sabihin niya? Balita ba yan, Mentong? Aba, babagsak ako sa English, sa college English course. Major ko pa naman yan. Pagkaya, hindi ho balita eh. Ha? Hindi ho balita eh. Pag sinabi ko bang if Marcos Jr., if a drug overdose, if Marcos Jr. experiences a drug overdose, he will surely die. Balita ba yan? If yan eh. Ito sa modern na dahil nga sa mga social media, ito tinatawag na classic na clickbait. Ito ay para i-click ninyo yung balita, yung material. Sensationalizing to attract view on a piece of content, exaggerating claims or leaving out key information in order to encourage views. This is not a fact but an assumption. This is not news but a conjecture. This is not declarative but in a conditional mood. And reporters are supposed to only, and what is the news here? Wala. Dahil yung sinabi ni Carpio, hindi naman balita eh. Sinong balita rito? Si Carpio. Ha? Ito isang loose accusation. Ha? Ang kanyang Duterte knew without repairs the BRP Sierra Madre would soon collapse and end our presence in Ayungin Shoal. Unang-unang leksyon ninyo mga kabansa nakikinig ngayong araw na ito. Ha? Mga kabansa, ito masasabi ko sa inyo. Unang-una ho, merong military situation sa Ayungin Shoal. So, hindi tayo pwedeng mag-claim ang iisay dyan. Uulit-ulitin ko. Pangalawa, sabi na nga ni Alan Cayetano, modus vivendi. Ito ho kasi mga abogado, pag hindi nakasulat, walang kwenta sa kanila. Ang problema ho mga kabansa ng international law, mas marami ho ang tinatawag na customary law in international law. Ibig sabihin, karamihan ng international law ay hindi nakasulat. Yun ho mga nakasulat, yan ang mga tinatawag natin tratado. Okay? Hindi ho nangangahulugan na pag hindi nakasulat ay hindi na parte ng international law. Kung ang mga bansang naturan ay sumusunod naman, miski sa telephone call, hindi ba ang US President tumatawag lang sa telepono? No? Hindi ba si John F. Kennedy tumawag lang sa telepono kay Khrushchev? Anong ginawa ni Khrushchev? Winidraw yung mga missiles na nilalagay nila sa Cuba. Sumunod. Meron ba silang pinirmahan? Wala. Nagtawagan lang sa telepono. And that is what is itong propaganda ng Kano na tinatawag na rule-based order. Ibig sabihin, una, pag hindi nakasulat, hindi rules-based order yan. Pangalawa ko, hindi pabor sa Amerika, hindi rules-based order yan. Kaya mag-ingat kayo sa paggamit ng rules-based order. Oh. So yan mga
Okay.
kabansa, ang ating
Okay.
tatandaan, huwag tayong paloloko dito sa mga septuagenarians na mukhang may nagsisimula ng Alzheimer Kamento.
Yes. Well, anyway, ang susunod na item po, nandiyan na sa screen po ninyo, ang dahilan kung bakit naghanap po, nakipag-usap si Presidente Duterte nung panahon na yon kay President Xi Jinping dahil sa mga ulat po tulad nito. Philippines says fishermen still blocked from Scarborough Shoal para mangisda. No? Hindi lang po doon sa lagoon. So because of such a situation, so may pakinabang talaga ang Pilipino doon sa usapan ni Xi at ni Presidente Duterte, which counters the argument nila Carpio at yung mga bumabatikos dyan sa mga agreement po, informal, which would become formal later on as Cayetano says. I think we have that item there. No? But yan ang malinaw na dahilan. It was an appeal and it was an action to help our Filipino fishermen. So, again, from July 21st, 2019, we are reissuing this report. Duterte made undocumented informal agreement. Itong mga journal reportage, no? Itong mga journalism reportage is part of history, part of the records. And sabi ni Duterte, kinikwento niya dito sa Pilipinas, will you allow the Chinese to fish? I think medyo misquoted. The Filipinos to fish. Of course, that's what we talked about before. That's why we talked, and that was why we were allowed to fish again, sabi ni Duterte. It was a mutual agreement. And presidential spokesperson Sal Panelo, meanwhile, revealed that the two leaders did not formally sign documents on the supposed fishing deal in the Philippines. I don't think they signed an agreement. They just talk, world leaders have their word of honor. But I think we have this word from Cayetano naman. Sabi ni Cayetano, this is a report from 2018. The current tentative agreement in place becomes essential until claimants who refuse to yield from their positions find a common ground for an accord. We have a tentative fishing agreement, sabi ni Cayetano, but there won't be a permanent fishing agreement if all sides will insist whose the area is, but this does not mean that we'll concede our rights there. So in other words, hinihintay pending discussions, no, to come to an agreement. Yeah. Yan ang dahilan kung bakit. Yes.
Konti lang, Karugtong.
Go ahead.
Ang sinabi ay maintaining the status quo. Bakit si Duterte titirahin nila? Ang establish ng status quo dyan, si Noynoy Aquino. Ayan ang problema kay Carpio. Basta makita niya yung mukha ni Duterte, nagkakaroon siya ng loose bowel movement
Well, that is, yung si Duterte ang target ng Amerikano ngayon to discredit, to destroy, para masira po ang politika na. Yun ang talagang
But who
pakay
started
dyan.
that? Kaninong agreement yan? Hindi ba kinumpirma na yan ni Voltaire Gasme noong 2013 pa?
That's right. That's the point I'm going to make now, Kaado. Ito sa ERAP's agreement, yung ayungin. Panahon ba ni ERAP yun? 1999 pa yun. 1999. And we have, of course, already cited many examples of the confirmation that promise was made by ERAP, no? Anyway, bumabati si Cesar Soberano, Alexandro Guerrero, Noel Hoxon dito sa kabilang Facebook page, and we'll read their messages in a while. So, and again, just to inform the public and inform the government that, and siyempre, pantapat po sa mga allegation laban kay Duterte galing sa US proxy boys, Ito galing sa Vietnam. I cannot read the very small letters here, but anyway, it's from a Vietnamese source. Negotiate an international peace. In other words, it's calling on their government to negotiate an international treaty to replace the agreement. May agreement on fisheries cooperation in the Tonkin Gulf between Vietnam and China. So this is to highlight nga na normal po itong mga agreements na to, the tentative habang hindi pa magkasundo sa ibang mga issues, magkakaroon ng agreement para maging smooth ang relationship at ang economic activities. Ano? Okay. Again, pointing to the Ayungin issue, BRP Sierra Madre is the book that we have read and we have discovered. No? Book by Gregory Pauling, an American military strategist na siyempre hindi yan kakampi sa China. Sa libro niya noong 2012 ba, 2021, 2022 na inilabas po niya. Sabi niya, the Philippines had its ninth and most precarious outpost in Spratlys. The Sierra Madre's grounding raised tensions with Beijing, which was irate when the Chinese government demanded that the ship be removed. President Estrada, feigning ignorance, promised to tow the vessel away as soon as it could be safely floated off the reef. So, the Ayungin Shoal issue is from the time of President Erap, who was trying to play and balance his relationship with China with his claims ng Pilipinas, because he was getting a lot of loans from President Jiang Zemin, including a $50 million loan. I forget for what purpose that Erap was very proud of that he got. But at the same time, he personally told me that he made this promise, but sabi niya, alam mo naman baka ma-areglo natin yan. No? So I have a personal information about this. Okay, so so next part is a discussion on rules-based order, Ado, no? Because the Philippine officials have been using the term rules-based order. I have heard it from General Browner. Of course, we have heard it said by President BBM himself that sumusunod ang Pilipinas sa rules-based order. Ito po ang ulat from Germany nung bumisita po si BBM sa Germany. Like-minded partners daw, sabi ng News 5 report. Philippines, Germany commit to uphold rules-based order amid maritime issues. And Philippines tells the UN itself in 2023, September, si Enrique Manalo, to the UN, preserve rules-based global order. Ang kalaban po ng rules-based order is the UN international law. Ano? Kaya nga, we don't know what these Philippine officials are doing. Ano? Ito po galing sa libro ni John Dugard, ano? An expert in international law. This is published in the Leiden Journal of International Law. Ang kanyang article, The Choice Before Us, International Law or a Rules-Based International Order. So malinaw po to international lawyers, di pareho po ang international law at rules-based order. Anong description niya ng rules-based international order? Sabi niya dito ni John Dugard, the indeterminate and undefined nature of the rules-based order, RBO ang gamit niya for short, ano? And the failure to consider the relationship with international law has led to the questioning of the reason for the resort to the rules-based order on the part of the United States. The manner in which the United States has justified apparent violations of international law by its own forces or those of its close friends has inevitably resulted in a cynical, albeit plausible explanation for the U.S. preference for the rules-based order. In other words, the U.S. is justifying their violations of international law and by its own forces or its allies by using the rules-based order. So it is an excuse to violate international law, Kaado. And our officials, like from the top to the medium level, like Browner, are mouthing this, including our top diplomat, Enrique Manalo. Don't they know what what error they are spewing in front of the global audience?
Of course they know.
Tuloy-tuloy ka lang, then we'll get your reaction. No? Continuation from John Dugard's article. While they have heralded the importance of human rights, I mean in America, self-determination, territorial integrity, economic cooperation, and such motherhood principles of international law, they have not considered the content of these principles by reference to the multilateral treaties or customary rules or the mechanisms for their enforcement. They are satisfied with the exposition of values that are undefined, with no regard to their binding force or enforceability. In short, they are not rules as they are understood by lawyers. To make matters worse, they have not considered the question whether the rules based order and international law are compatible with each other or whether one order is superior to the other. Yan ang mga questions ni John Dugard. Kado, yes, your reaction. Go ahead.
Well, of course they know. O kayo tanungin ko mga kabansa, alam nila yan. Mataas ang mga antas ng utak ng mga yan. O for instance, si Gibo-Teodoro, gumagamit ng rules-based order, ha? Alam niyo ba si Gibo-Teodoro, abogado? Alam niyo ba si Gibo-Teodoro, bar top notcher noong 1989 with an average of 86.15 yata percent? Alam niyo ba na si Gibo-Teodoro ay may Master of Laws sa Harvard Law School? Alam niyo ba na may Doctorate of Law yan? Sa West Negros University yata yan? Ha? Pero bakit ginagamit niya rules-based order? Imposible naman na tatanga-tanga. Ako kuminsan na ayoko nang akusahan na si Gibo-Teodoro actually Gibobo Teodoro Dahil mataas ang antas niya, mataas ang pinanggalingan niya, mataas pinag-aralan niya. Oh, eto ngayon ang tanong ko sa Defense Press Corps. Bakit ginagamit nyo yan? Bakit nyo kino-quote yan? Bakit hindi nyo tinatanong yung mga nagsasabi niyan? Kung ano ibig sabihin yan? Si Marcos ginagamit yan. Ha? Si Manalo ginagamit yan. Lahat ng mga, ha? Dalawa lang ang, o baka tatlo pa rason. Number one, dahil yan ang atas sa inyo. Ha? Ng puwersang banyaga. Pangalawa, baka kumikita pa kayo dyan eh. Ha? Magkano tapal sa mukha ninyo? Sa bulsa ninyo? Isa lang ho, wala namang dapat gulo. Lahat pwedeng pag-usapan. Pero sino umiiwas sa usapan? Sino nang gagato para magkagaroon ng patintero? Ito ho ang sagot. No? Do not underestimate the overwhelming power of greed. Kagagaling lang natin sa Holy Week. Siguro alam nyo naman ang bunga ng kasakiman. Ha? Alam niyo yung mga Marcoses, ngayon ko lang napapagtanto, na talagang hindi aalis hanggat hindi tayo ay ubos na. Nung iniwan tayo ni Marcos Sr., wala na ho ating ekonomiya, zero, negative pa. Ngayon, bakit? Bumabalik na naman tayo sa sitwasyon na ang focus ng gobyerno ay wala sa totoong pangailangan ng Pilipino. Meron hong sagot si Sas Rogando Sasot. Ito ho sinabi niya. Why did Marcos shift in his decade-long foreign policy stances? Ang tagal ho namin mga kabansay na interview si Marcos hanggang halos eleksyon na. Tama ang mga prinsipyo. Tama ang mga sinasabi niya sa ating national interest. Pero ang hindi pala natin alam lahat ay dinalaw siya ng mga representante ng State Department ng US at ng mga miyembro ng US Embassy. Natatandaan nyo si Noynoy Aquino, dinalaw nung negro na na ambassador ng US noon, ang pangalan nun, Thomas ba yun? Thomas? Nagbago na ang isip. Weeks before the election palahon nangyari yan. Nakapuslit ang embahada ng Amerika. Siguro, hindi sa headquarters sila nag-usap, kundi sa bahay ng mga Marcoses dyan sa Nara Street sa Forbes Park. Ito ho ang sagot. Bakit nagpalit ang isip ni Marcos? The answer, sabi ni Sasot, cannot be disentangled from the fact that his family's assets are frozen in banks in Western countries to the tune of several billion dollars. Ang estimate po dyan ay 61 billion. Wala pa po yung appreciation, wala pa yung interest. US dollar 61 billion. And this is, sabi ni Sasot, is his best shot to recover all of them, which have been frozen for over 3 decades. It is a tit for tat o kapalit that Marcos surely cannot refuse. Alam nyo, para sa akin lang, China can no longer hope. The Filipinos can no longer hope for a change of mind of Marcoses. Na dahilan sa kasakiman, ay hostage siya ng Estados Unidos, mga kabansa. Ang problema, he is dragging the whole country down the drain. Yan ang problema. At kung ano na lamang ang lumabas, katulad ng mga speeches niya sa Australia, hindi niyo manapansin, speech niya sa Germany. Hindi naman Pilipino nagsulat nun eh. Ako ho'y matagal ng editor, alam ko ang style ng American English as differentiated from Filipino English. Hindi Filipino ang nagsulat nun. Yun ay sinubo sa kanya mula sa Rojas Boulevard. So para sa akin, Mentong, kailangan na maghanda ang Pilipinas. Kayong mga mayor, ayusin nyo na yung disaster management. Dahil baka magkagera, para yung mga emergency missions, kung meron masusugatan dyan, ay madali nyo masasagot. No? Dahil palagay ko lang, feel ko lang, Mentong, malapit na ang economic sanctions o di kaya gera with China. Pag nag-joint patrols ang ating armed forces of the Philippines dyan, maniwala kayo sa akin, tatamaan ng mga banyagang pwersa. Maraming salamat po.
Sorry. Wala na po tayong oras. It's 10 a.m. Exactly the last seconds po has ticked by. And that was exactly our last item sa ating agenda. So, I am trying to end this session. I don't know how kasi po, special po itong mga arrangement na ginawa ni Ka Joshua. Wala dito yung end button and the leave button. So, I will just...
I'll end na po.
Sige, si Ka Joshua will end it. Mabuhay po tayong lahat.
Happy
Tatuloy
Easter.
lang natin ang laban. Happy Easter po sa lahat. Ka Joshua, you can end the session na.